Today we're going to talk about probate. Probate is law which governs how property is passed once someone dies. Usually people will have a will, and in that will they will appoint a personal representative to administer their estate once they die. And administer the estate means that they have to marshal the assets of your estate and then make sure the creditors are paid. And then after the creditors are paid, distribute to your beneficiaries. So before we get into the probate process, it's very important for you to understand and remember that the person you choose as a personal representative will have a lot of responsibility, and you have to make sure that you choose someone who is healthy enough and willing to help through this process after your death. Once your will is completed, that will be submitted to the court after your death, and a file will be open for the estate of the deceased. And the court will look at the will and appoint a personal representative who will take an oath to faithfully perform the duties of administration. Now, the personal representative at that time will be issued something known as letters of administration, which they can show to anyone who may be in possession of an asset of the estate. Typically, life insurance policies, bank accounts, and things of that nature do not pass through the probate process because there is a beneficiary form that you complete which indicates who should receive that money once you pass. But there are occasions where people don't put a beneficiary, and sometimes that will require the court to decide who the heirs are and who should get the money. So the personal representative will be responsible for gathering all the assets together, and then he will provide a notice to creditors. A notice to creditors is something that is published in the paper usually for 90 days to give your creditors notice that you have died, and if they want to make a claim against your estate, they must file it with the court. A lot of times people at the end of life are struggling to stay alive, but ultimately they die, and sometimes they run up a huge medical bill. That bill can be paid by your insurance, and if you're uninsured, sadly, the government will have to take responsibility for that bill, and the Agency for Healthcare Administration will file a claim in your probate matter, and they want all of their money. So when you're at end of life and making end of life decisions, please be mindful of the fact that you may be impairing your estate in terms of who will receive what if you run up a large medical bill. But be that as it may, the creditors must respond within 90 days or else their claims will be absolved. And if you have an attorney, sometimes he can strike some of their claims prior to the decision on how the assets of the estate will be distributed. If the property is held between you and your wife, generally your wife will receive the property through something known as a joint tenancy by the entirety. But if you own the property individually, the court will determine what homestead rights will be transferred. If you live in the house, you have homestead rights granted by the state of Florida, which protects you from creditors. And that homestead right is an asset which can be passed down to your heirs. So the court will be asked to determine who should get the homestead rights, and hopefully it will determine that your heirs do that. So in the probate process, you start out with the personal representative, you follow that with the notice to the creditors, then a determination of homestead, and then you finally propose a distribution of the assets to the heirs of the estate. Once the court distributes the assets to the heirs of the estate, then your probate claim will be discharged, and that's generally how the process works. So this is a brief primer on probate law. If you have any questions with regard to probate and estate work, please feel free to contact me. We'll be glad to talk to you about it. Thank you. I hope this video helped you today, and if you're having any kind of legal questions that you'd like answered, please feel free to call us, and we'll be delighted to help you resolve your problem. Thank you.